Strength, stamina. How do you build it? Watch this.
Our next caller is Brian from North Carolina.
Brian, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on today.
You got it.
I've been a listener for about 3 years. I'm excited to be here.
Right on.
All right.
Yeah, so let me get into it. So I just turned 30. Consider myself to be in pretty good shape. Look the way I want to, pain-free. Got a lot of good things going. I was running maps anabolic recently, and when I got to my deadlifts, I was winded after about like 4 or 5 of them. I generally only lift weights, not a cardio guy. I work from home now. It's been like that for the last 2 years, going some walks during the day. So my question is how can I improve my endurance in the gym, while deadlifting? I feel like it's costing me some strength gains since I'm falling short on my reps.
Do you notice this on the other lifts too, or just deadlifts?
No, it's just been deadlifts. Squats isn't so bad. Just deadlifts is where it really comes out.
What program comes to mind right away? Tell me you guys are on the same page as I am.
Strong?
Yep.
Yeah.
Math Strong.
Math
sure.
Strong would be great.
The first phase, bro.
I know.
Work capacity. First phase.
There's another part to your question,
endurance.
Brian, that you didn't say here on air that you wrote in, and you said that you like to keep your body fat around 10% or lower. Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah, that's generally for the last 3 years, I've been kind of hanging around that number, and I never get it tested. I just have, visible abs, nutrition's kind of locked in. Okay. So it's generally where I've been at.
Well, you could try try adding calories too. Some guys can maintain, 9-8% body fat, notice no performance drops, but that's the exception, not the rule.
But so he's not doing any cardio. He's also got a desk job at home all day long.
Well, I mean, it would be part of the formula is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the answer, but I would say Map Strong, I would go on a surplus and then see what happens. I know for me, for example, my stamina is just better when I'm at 11% body fat than when I'm 8 or 9. That 2% makes a big difference for me. Some people, that's not the case, but like I said, that's the exception. Single-digit body fat tends to affect performance for some people. So I would go on a little surplus with Map Strong and see what happens. And I don't think you need to add cardio if you do Map Strong. Map Strong has got some stamina in there, built in. And you want to talk about deadlift endurance, there's a lot of stuff in there that'll build that.
Yeah, there's 2 different ways that I would go at it. If you were a client of mine and you said, Adam, can I build that endurance without adding cardio, I would move you in the strong direction. Just do that program. That's going to build the work capacity you're looking for without actually doing any cardio. If you said, I actually don't mind cardio if you don't mind me doing it, I would say, dude, do 12 to 15 minutes a hit post-workout after your lifting sessions and watch what that does to your work capacity. I think that in itself would also do it. So you kind of have 2 different options on how you want to approach it. Both options, though, I would agree with Sal. I would increase calories a little bit because the volume and workload that's in strong, you could increase calories and still maintain your body fat percentage, and you'll probably see strength gains in that.
100%. I'd go up 300 calories.
Yeah, and then same thing goes for HIIT. If you all of a sudden did the other direction that I said, which is start to incorporate HIIT into your routine post-workout for like I said, 12, 15 minutes on the Stairmaster or sprints or the rower or something after you're lifting, also increase calories, and you'll still keep and maintain your body fat percentage, maybe even go down a little bit. So you kind of have 2 different options on how you could potentially increase your work capacity, and it really would have to do with which one do you prefer as a client is where I'd push you.
Yeah, and deadlifts for reps are gnarly, so that's just hard for everybody. I don't feel too bad about that. It's I rarely go over 5 reps of deadlifts because it's one of those exercises that just seems to work taxing.
Better. Yeah, but you could barely run across the street to Starbucks too. So let's not use you as an example.
That's true.
So I mean, I think that
true. They bring it to me though.
Yeah, let's not use you as an example, or any of us for that matter, for running stuff. But I mean, it comes down to what you like to do, and if you really like, strength training, you dig the lifting weights part, you could totally build cardiovascular endurance. That's one of the things I think that we always are trying to preach on here because people think we're anti-cardio. It's no, you do a program like Strong, like the very first phase, you got 20 reps of deadlifts.
The
bro.
work sessions are going to,
and then you have work sessions on the opposing days, which are like speed ladder drills and things like that. Like you're going to build some cardiovascular endurance just by following a weight training
especially for
program.
the deadlift.
Yeah, and it's translatable, and so I think that's why we first, highlight the work capacity part of it, because you're loaded and you're trying to maintain, good form and technique and everything while being in a state of fatigue. And so to train that way translates a lot better towards a goal of being better, having better stamina while you're lifting weights versus just adding in running at the end of your workouts, which will help, but it's not exactly as translatable.
Right. And I think for me, it's like I'm comparing, back before, like 2019, I was hitting the gym. Like, I feel like I didn't have this issue. Now it's been 3 years later. I've been working from home more. I'm, 3 years older. So I was still trying to figure out. And the other thing is, so my calories are at like 2,700 now. I think I just bumped that up to 3,000.
Yeah, I would go 300. That sounds like a good place to go. But then from there, feel it out, see if you need more.
You're also, you said you're 30, right? Is that what you said you're at?
Yep.
This is about the age where I started doing this thing where occasionally because I'm not a big, obviously, runner or cardio guy either, but I also don't want to allow myself to get so far the other direction that I can't run a mile, right? So what I would do is, like, I don't know, every couple months, if I notice like I feel that way, like you're kind of explaining, I would get on the treadmill and just see what I can get my mile time, just to see where it's at. And I always like to keep it in a range that I think is good. So I want to be able to do sub 8 minutes always. Like, it's just, to me, that's not like a super fast mile time, but it's also, that's pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially now I'm 40 something years old. So when I started
enough to catch your kids.
Yeah, that's right. So not to catch your kids or run away from somebody. Like, that's kind of my thought process is, and mile's only 8 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a big cardio guy, and I'll probably never have to run more than a mile at one time. So that's kind of my idea of like, okay, I'm still relatively fit enough to get after it for 1 mile. And so I like to use that as like, how cardiovascularly fit am I at the time? And so you have a baseline. I think it's a great age to do that. So since you're feeling that way, get on the treadmill, run your mile, see where your mile time is, and then let that be kind of your baseline of judging where your cardiovascular endurance is at.
Okay. Yeah, no, sounds good.
All right, man. We're going to send you Map Strong if you don't got that. All right, Brian?
All right. I don't. Yeah, I appreciate it. It was great being on, man. You guys are great.
Thanks,
Awesome.
man. Nice beard, by the way. Very healthy.
I appreciate
Small
it.
beard.
You got it.
Not tiny.
It was tiny, small.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Could you imagine running from something scary for a mile? You said you want to be able to do that for a mile. That's a long time to be running for some scary shit,
Lots
bro.
of pulled
That's
hamstrings.
why.
After about a quarter mile, I'd be like, I think I'm just gonna die. I don't.
That's why I want to be able to do it. I'm like, there's not many times you'll have to run for more than a mile. Really, let's be honest here. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if you're running for more than a mile, like there's something bad going on.
yeah, you didn't get away. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get away.
That's
so.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I like the metric system. I go for a kilometer. The mile's too long for me. No, but his question is it's a good one. I think also something else that's probably playing a role is just that he's working from home. That sitting all day. I remember when they first came out with the Body Bug was like a breakthrough piece of fitness equipment or metric, I guess, measurer. And I remember looking at my clients' charts, and then I really realized, like, oh my God, you move for 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
The rest of the day you do nothing.
Yeah.
So no wonder your calorie burn is so low, or you feel the way you do, even though you work out every day.
Well, whatever you do the most throughout your day is what your body prioritizes.
Yeah.
Well, or
So
what
if
it
you're
blew me
sitting-
away with that tech was I'd see a day they train with me where we not only did a weightlifting session, they also did a hour cardio. And then they'd have a Saturday that they burned way more calories.
Doing yard work or something.
Yeah, and they just went to the mall, went shopping, they cleaned house. And I was like, whoa, like, so and I remember this transition in my life when I went from being a full-time personal trainer who was, training 8-10 clients every day, 6 days a week, to all of a sudden being this guy who was running a cannabis club where I was sitting at a desk and I, at the beginning, had no clients, no customers. And I just sat for 8 hours out of my day. It was a huge transition for me to go through that because I quickly went from the guy who could never eat enough calories to keep up with his burn and his activity level to quickly being the guy that was just piling. And it was.
I bet it fooled you at first.
It did.
Like,
I've shared it. If you listen long enough on the podcast, I've actually shared this story before. But I remember when I first told you guys that, like, I had this realization, like, oh, I'm fat. Like, I've never felt fat before in my life because I could never put on weight for all of my 20s. And when I first started to put on weight, I cared so much about the scale that I didn't realize that it was mostly body fat that I was putting on. I was just like, oh, I'm filling out my shirts. Oh, the scale's going up. It was like the first time over 200 pounds. And then I remember laying on my side in bed and scratching my side and like feeling a belly for the first time in my life. I went, oh my God, like I've never put on that kind of weight. So yeah, it's a major transition when you go from being somebody who's just, has a relatively active,
people don't realize it.
Yeah, active job, how much of a difference that makes.